Good morning, students. Welcome to the first lesson of the supplementary reader Moments. The name of the lesson is The Lost Child, written by Mulk Raj Anand. Mulk Raj Anand was born on December 12, 1905 in Peshawar, which is now in Pakistan. During his time, he was one of the most prominent Indian authors who wrote novels, short stories, and critical essays in English. He was known for the realistic and sympathetic portrayal of the lower castes in India. He gained recognition with his novels Untouchable and Coolie. So now we begin with The Lost Child by Mulkraj Anand. Parents are the most valuable possession of a child. And when a child has his parents, he isn't worried about whatever can happen in his life because he knows that they are there for him and they will shield him from everything that happens. But now we have the story of a little child in a village. Let's read and look at the lesson further. The Lost Child by Mulkraj Anand. It was the festival of spring. From the wintry shades of narrow lanes and alleys emerged a gaily clad humanity. Some walked, some rode on horses, others sat, being carried in bamboo and bullock carts. One little boy ran between his father's legs, brimming over with life and laughter. Here, as we can see, there's a little child accompanied by his parents going to the village fair. Some of them villagers were riding on horses, the others were being carried in bamboo and bullock carts. But this little boy ran happily between his father's legs, full of enthusiasm and excitement to be visiting the village fair. Come, child, come, called his parents as he lagged behind, fascinated by the toys in the shops that lined the way. He hurried towards his parents, his feet obedient to their call, his eyes still lingering on the receding toys. As he came to where they had stopped to wait for him, he could not suppress the desire of his heart, even though he knew well the old, cold stare of refusal in their eyes. I want that toy, he pleaded. His father looked at him, red-eyed, in his familiar tyrant's way. His mother, melted by the free spirit of the day, was tender and giving him her finger to hold, said, Look, child, what is before you? It was a flowering mustard field, pale like melting gold as it swept across miles and miles of even land. A group of dragonflies were bustling about on their gaudy purple wings, intercepting the flight of a lone black bee or butterfly in search of sweetness from the flowers. The child followed them in the air with his gaze, till one of them would still its wings and rest, and he would try to catch it. But it would go fluttering, flapping up into the air, when he had almost caught it in his hands. Then his mother gave a cautionary call. Come, child, come on to the footpath. So here we can see as the child is going with his parents to the village fair, he keeps on walking slowly because he can see different things all around him. The first thing that fascinates him, that interests him, is the toys in the shop. Then, so he keeps looking at that and walking slowly, but his parents keep on calling him. And then he knows that if he asks for any toy, his father will refuse him. And so he doesn't say anything. His mother is not as strict as his father, and she is very tender hearted and loving. She calls him and asks him to look what is there in front of him in order to distract him. Then he sees a mustard field. The flowers are yellow in color, and that's why it looks like melted gold. He also notices a group of dragonflies flying about on their purple wings, trying to trap a black bee or butterfly who are in search of nectar. But then, when he tries to catch it, it slips from his fingers, and his mother cautions him, Come, child, come on to the footpath. Then he ran towards his parents gaily and walked abreast of them for a while, being, however, soon left behind, attracted by the little insects and worms along the footpath that were teeming out from their hiding places to enjoy the sunshine. Come, child, come, his parents called from the shade of a grove where they had seated themselves on the edge of a well. He ran towards them. A shower of young flowers fell upon the child as he entered the grove, and forgetting his parents, he began to gather the raining petals in his hands. But lo! he heard the cooing of doves and ran towards his parents, shouting, "The dove, the dove!" The raining petals dropped from his forgotten hands. "Come, child, come," they called to the child, who had now gone running in wild capers around the banyan tree, and gathering him up, they took the narrow, winding footpath which led to the fair through the mustard fields. So here, as his mother calls him, he runs gaily and he looks at all the insects that are there around. So when he goes in the direction of his parents, a shower of flowers falls upon him, and he forgets about his parents, and he begins to gather those petals in his hands. But just then he hears the cooing of doves, and then he tells his mother, "The dove, the dove." And his parents keep on coaxing him, "Come, child, come." And they pick him up and carry him through the narrow winding footpath which leads to the fair through the fields. As they neared the village, the child could see many other footpaths full of throngs converging to the whirlpool of the fair, and felt at once repelled and fascinated by the confusion of the world he was entering. Here we can see that the little child, accompanied by his parents, have reached almost the edge of the fair. And before they enter, the child looks around and sees so many people around it. For a minute, he is not only fascinated, but he is also uh, repelled by them. That is, he is afraid of entering that fair because there are so many people around. Just then, a sweetmeat seller hawked gulab jamun, rasgulla, barfi, jalebi at the corner of the entrance, and a crowd pressed around this counter at the foot of an architecture of many colored sweets, decorated with leaves of silver and gold. The child stared open-eyed, and his mouth watered for the barfi that was his favorite sweet. "I want that barfi," he slowly murmured, but he half knew as he begged that his plea would not be heeded because his parents would say he was greedy. So, without waiting for an answer, he moved on. So, when the child entered the fair, he saw a man selling sweets, and there were a vast array of sweets there, and they were all the sweets were like arranged in such a fashion that it looked like an architecture of sweets. And then he looked at the barfi that was his favorite and said, "I want that barfi." But he knew the answer to that. His parents would say no. They would say that you're quite greedy and would say no to him for asking the barfi. A flower seller hawked a garland of gulmohar, a garland of gulmohar. The child seemed irresistibly drawn. He went towards the basket where the flowers lay heaped and half murmured, "I want that garland." But he well knew his parents would refuse to buy him those flowers because they would say that they were cheap. So without waiting for an answer, he moved on. The little child, after looking at the sweets, finds a flower seller hawking gulmohars and is irresistibly drawn to them because he loves the garlands. But he knows that his parents will scold him and say that the flowers are cheap, and so without waiting for an answer, he moves on. The next person to be sighted by him is a man holding a pole with rainbow colored balloons flying from it. The child was simply carried away by the rainbow glory of their silken colors, and he was filled with an overwhelming desire. That is a great desire to possess them all. But he well knew his parents would never buy him the balloons because they would say he was too old to play with such toys. So he walked on farther. A snake charmer stood playing a flute to a snake which coiled itself in a basket, its head raised in a graceful bend like the neck of a swan, while the music stole into its invisible ears like the gentle rippling of an invisible waterfall. The child went towards the snake charmer, but knowing his parents had forbidden him to hear such coarse music as the snake charmer played, he proceeded further. So when the little child comes across a balloon seller with one wonderfully gay colored balloons, he wants those balloons, but he knows that his parents will say no, that he is too old to play with balloons. And so he walks on further, and then he sees a snake charmer playing a flute to a snake which is coiled, but the snake also looks very graceful. He wants to stand there and listen to the music, but his parents had forbidden him to hear such coarse music, and so he doesn't stand there, but he moves on further. As, there was a roundabout in full swing. Men, women, and children, carried away in a whirling motion, shrieked and cried with dizzy laughter. The child watched them intently and then he made a bold request. I want to go on the roundabout, please. Father, mother. Then he couldn't stop himself from asking his parents for a ride on the roundabout because he saw men, women, and children enjoying themselves a lot. But there was no reply to this question of his, and when he turns to look around for his parents, they were not there. Ahead of them, neither were they behind or to his either side. And so a full deep cry rose within his dry throat, and with a sudden jerk of his body, he ran from where he stood, crying in real fear. Mother, father, tears rolled down from his eyes, hot and fierce. His flushed face was convulsed with fear. Panic stricken, he ran to one side first and then to the other, hither and thither in all directions, knowing not where to go. Mother, father, he wailed. His yellow turban came untied and his clothes became muddy. Having run to and fro in a rage of running for a while, he stood defeated, his cries suppressed into sobs. At little distances on the green grass, as he could see, through the filmy eyes, men and women talking. He tried to look intently among the patches of bright yellow clothes, but there was no sign of his father and mother among these people, who seemed to laugh and talk just for the sake of laughing and talking. So when the child asks for a ride on the roundabout and gets no reply, he looks for his parents and finds to his great horror that he is lost, that they are nowhere in sight. And so he starts running and crying. The tears keep falling hot, and he is terribly afraid. So he runs to and fro, and then looks among the people but cannot find them anywhere. Then he runs quickly, this time to a shrine to which people seemed to be crowding. Every little inch of space was congested with men. That means was full of men, but he ran through people's legs, his little sobs lingering. Mother, father, near the entrance to the temple, the crowd became very thick. Men jostled each other, heavy men with flashing murderous eyes and hefty shoulders. The poor child struggled to thrust a way between their feet, but was knocked to and fro by their brutal movements. He might have been trampled underfoot had he not shrieked at the highest pitch of his voice. Father, mother, a man in the surging crowd heard his cry and stooping with great difficulty, lifted him up in his arms. So when the boy kept crying for some time and running here and there, he finally reaches a temple, and there he shouts at the top of his voice, and then he is really afraid because people are uncaring. They keep on moving about, and he is knocked to and fro. And then when he shouts at the highest pitch of his voice, a man who's really kind-hearted lifts him up in his arms, and then asks him how he got there, whose child he was. The child wept more bitterly than ever now and cried, I want my mother, I want my father. The man tried to soothe him by taking him to the roundabout, and he says, will you have a ride on the horse? He gently asked as he approached the ring. The child's throat tore into 1,000 shrill sobs, and he only shouted, I want my mother, I want my father. So the man here is asking him for a ride on the roundabout. But now that his parents are not with him, the child is not at all interested in the roundabout. The man headed towards the place where the snake charmer still played on the flute to the swaying cobra. Listen to that nice music, child, he pleaded. But the child shut his ears with his fingers and shouted his double-pitched strain. I want my mother, I want my father. The man took him near the balloons, thinking the bright colors would distract the child's attention and quieten him. Would you like a rainbow-colored balloon? He persuasively asked. The child turned his eyes from the flying balloons and just sobbed. I want my mother, I want my father. The man, still trying to make the child happy, bore him to the gate where the flower seller sat. Look, can you smell those nice flowers, child? Would you like a garland to put around your neck? So after the man picks him up and asks him if he would like a ride on the roundabout, the child declines the offer. The man then takes him to the snake charmer, hoping that he would be interested in that and that he would stop crying. but the child shuts his ears and refuses to listen to that music. The man then takes him to the balloon seller and asks him if he would like some balloons, but the child refuses once again and says that he just wants his parents. Then the man, still trying to humor the child, takes him to the gate where the flower seller sits and asks him if he wants a garland, and the child just says that he wants his mother and father. Thinking to humor his disconsolate charge by a gift of sweets, the man took him to the counter of the sweet shop. "What sweets would you like, child?" he asked. The child turned his face from the sweet shop and only sobbed, "I want my mother, I want my father." So, as we can see, children, from the beginning of the lesson, where the child is on his way to the fair and he looks around and wants so many things, starting from the toys to the flowers to the to the birds in the field, the doves cooing. Then, as he enters the fair, he wants so many things. When his parents are with him, he doesn't realize the importance of his parents and he focuses outward. He looks for things. He looks at the sweets and then he looks at the flowers and then the snake charmer. And then, so he continuously keeps wanting this and that, and he knows that his parents are going to say no to everything. But the moment he loses the moment he is lost, he realizes his parents are not with him. Then, even though a stranger offers him the very things that he wanted a few minutes ago, he says no to all of them. So, what does this tell us? It tells us that in life, things do not matter as much as people. And especially for a little child, his parents are his haven of refuge, of protection. So when he loses his parents, he doesn't want any other thing. He just wants his parents. So Mulkraj Anand has beautifully brought out the importance of parents in a child's life. So we should be thankful to God for having given us wonderful parents. I hope you have understood the lesson well. Thank you and have a nice day.